Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Lotus Business School, I, Professor Prajakta Gazre, HOD of Pharma, delighted to extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guest speaker, Mr. K.S. Mahesh, sir, Director of Lotus Business, Dr. Satish Varpade, sir, esteemed principal and faculty member from various pharma colleges, and our dear students to today's enlightening session. I'm thrilled to announce that we have recently established MOU with several prestigious pharma colleges. To nurture and strengthen this partnership, our first collaborative initiative is today's guest session on the recent trends in pharmaceutical industry, which is expertly led by Mr. K.S. Mahesh, sir. Now, I kindly invite Dr. Dhananjay Deshpande, sir, to provide further insight into our institution and the significance of this MOU.
One goal. On the behalf of Lotus Business School, again, I would like to welcome you all in this today's session, case session. Let me introduce about the college, the Institute, Pharma Institute. Our Lotus Business School was established in 2009, and we are approved by AICT as well as affiliated with SPPU Pune, and we provide all kind of the MBA specialization along with the agribusiness management and pharmaceutical and healthcare management for B.Pharm students after completion of their graduation. Now about MOU, that Lotus Business School has taken the initiative to collaborate with other pharmaceutical colleges across Maharashtra or across, you can say, India. And we did it also. More than 50 MOU we have signed across Maharashtra, and also we have received the MOU copies from Punjab, then Karnataka and Telangana also. So basic purpose of this academic, we can say this MOU is to make the academic, we can say, the enhancement in the improvement in the quality of the education, and also to can say the exchange of the seminar workshops and conferences, then to provide the value added, we can say, the certification to the pharma students, then faculty exchange, or you can say the student exchange program, then social extension activities, then basically the research activities where most of the cases the institutes are going to be lacking in the same, while we are going to make kind of the accreditations. And then we also would like to provide the help in placement to cancel the assistance to the farmer, can say the students, then NAC and NBA, the crucial kind of the area which all can say the people or colleges are going to face. Recently, we got, you can say, the accreditation, NAC accreditation, A accreditation in the first cycle. So we have a little bit of the idea for the same. Then NEP is also one of the, you can say, the new challenge for our, you can say, the institutions, and placement activities. Then also we are planning to support about the industrial visits to the various cases of pharmaceutical students and colleges, as we have number of the MOUs with pharmaceutical industries. And basically, this is what the agenda of, we can say, the MOU between Lotus Business School and other we can say the pharma colleges across Maharashtra, across India. So now I would like to can say the hand over my can say the mic to direct the man. Thank you very much.
Okay, it is the request to all participants. Some students are posting wrong comments in the comment box. So I request that particular person to remove the comment or stop these things. Otherwise, we will remove you from the session. Okay. Now, moving ahead, it is my pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest with over 30 years of expertise in the pharmaceutical industry, Mr. K.S. Mahesh sir. Sir brings a wealth of knowledge in sales force effectiveness, integrated business analytics, and digital initiative. Renowned for his strategic insight, Sir has led pivotal roles in organizations like Universal NutriScience, MQR Pharmaceuticals, Cipla, Merck Group, and Sanofi. Sir is proficient in enhancing sales force effectiveness with a strategic approach. Sir specializes in providing actionable insight through advanced analytics. Sir is a sought after speaker and panelist at national and international pharma forums like Medicine Man, I for Pharma, Marcus Evans, and CPHM. Sir led a strategic initiative as a head of business excellence at Universal NutriScience. Sir also directed SFE, MIS, and business analytics at MQR Pharmaceuticals Limited. Sir led SFE teams at Cipla, Merck Group, driving a rapid growth and system transformation. Sir has contributed to business analytics and digital initiative in senior roles at Sanofi. Sir's expertise lies in leveraging data-driven strategies to optimize sale performance and foster innovation. Let's warmly welcome Sir for today's enlightening session on recent trends in the pharmaceutical industry. Now over to you, Mahesh sir.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So may I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All students are requested to unmute yourself. You will be given chance to ask the question. You can post your question in the chat box.
So let me know if you are able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. You're able to see the screen?
No, sir.
Screen is not visible, sir. PPTs are not visible.
Just give me a second. Give me a second.
Yes.
Now should be visible.
No, sir.
I'm really sorry. Just give me a
Sudarshan,
second,
sir.
please.
Sudarshan, sir, please share the PPT.
Is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Respected teachers and students. I'm Sachin Mahesh. Thanks a lot, madam, for the introduction. Without much ado, let me get into that. I would be talking about the recent trends in the pharmaceutical industry. I wanted to give you a complete update on what are the things that are that are happening in the pharmaceutical industry. And I was told that you are about to graduate from the pharmacy colleges. So, what to expect from the pharmaceutical industry? Possibly that would be the right thing to do with all the details which I do have. So, madam, is the screen available and everything is fine? Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible and screen is visible.
Sure, sure, sure. Wonderful. So let me go ahead with this. So, as I said, I would talk about the recent trends in the pharmaceutical industry. Uh, Madam, someone else's this thing is there. I'm not able to move the
Yeah,
presentation.
actually, the PPT is shared by our side.
Okay, 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 fine. So maybe you can move to the next slide.
Yes.
So, I mean, gentlemen, can we go back to the back side? Yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to say that for all of you who are going to get into new roles or even get into education, further education, the future is going to be very bright for a simple reason. This pharmaceutical industry is recession proof. You must have heard that during recession, there will be job losses, there will be a kind of problems that you would observe, and the number of new jobs that would be there would be less and all that. But whereas when it comes to the healthcare industry, this is absolutely recession proof. So to say, in fact, the jobs will go up. In fact, whenever there is recession, people would be depressed, which means that there will be more medicines that needs to be used. So this is actually recession proof industry that would actually enhance the jobs even at that point of time. So you can be very, very sure that you are going to do well in the near future. Can we move to the next slide, please? Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah. I mean, and when it comes to the India, I think India has got a huge amount of opportunity. And this is just to show you what kind of opportunity that we have got. We are about 1.42 billion population, possibly the world's largest in no time. And we do have about 1.3 million qualified doctors who are there. Though the number of doctors per 1000 patients is less compared to rest of the world, but they are occupied with huge number of patients getting in. We do have one of the best trained nursing staff who are there, and approximately about 1.6 million pharmacy graduates are there all across. With so many pharmacy stores and organized pharmacies, the India's network is phenomenally good. And in India, I mean, even to my surprise, when I was checking the recent data, we do have 1 million pharma field force who work across the organizations across India, which is a massive field force compared to the size that we have in terms of the rupees. We have huge number of manufacturing plants, about a lakh of formulations, 70,000 distributors and 60,000 brands, and about 3,000 companies. And after all this, we do have 85% of out-of-pocket expenses when it comes to the pharmacy, when it comes to the medicines in India, which means that we do have a great future ahead. And you must have already heard that India is great because of its consumption, because of its population, and because of its demographic dividend, which means that we do have population which is more or less the ones who are during the in the working age. That makes India very, very special. So as I said, that it is recession proof with so much of opportunity that is ahead. India is poised and your future is poised for a great start. Can we move to the next slide, please? Can we move to the next slide, please? Hello. Yeah, this is what I believe is one of my favorite slides. This is the world at night by NASA. I mean, of course, the whole world will not be at night instance, it is always that, over a period of time, every country goes through the night. But NASA had taken pictures over a period of time and then had brought them together. What I want you to observe is just look where the light is, wherever the light is bright. They are all the cities that we have got. They are all the places where you have the maximum amount of population. And also look at the places where you do not have much light. Today, if you have high light or luminosity, which says that it is actually very well developed. And if you observe India, India is shining bright. If you remember, possibly a few years back, or rather a decade back, it was said that India is shining. And truly, you can see India shining. But there is one thing that you should also understand as pharmacy graduates. Wherever you find light, that is where you find diabetes, that is where you find highest incidence of hypertension, that is where you find highest incidence of lifestyle diseases, that is where you find highest dyslipidemias, that is where you find highest cases of oncology, or rather highest cases of cancers. And wherever there are dark areas which usually have got diseases like malarias and choleras and most of the active or rather infectious diseases, this is typically which says that we are one such so-called developing country. I don't think that we should call ourselves developing country anymore. We are fairly well developed, which says that you have got huge opportunities ahead. Can we move on, please? Next slide, please. And in the whole world, you observe that, we have now the new generation, which is more called as an indoor generation. If you have observed the next generation, they are not playing outside, they are not going around, they are mostly inside, and possibly the computers and the phones have become their biggest companion and friends, and so is called as indoor generation. So the indoor generation, though we are yet to see the negative impacts of being at indoor, but what we see over a period of time is when you are in indoor generation. Can we move to the next slide, please? When you are in indoor generation and when you move towards more of these westernized foods, which are possibly processed foods, you tend to put on weight. So the obesity as such is a problem to the world at this point of time, and it's going to be a future problem. You must have already heard that vitamin D deficiency in India is much, much higher compared to the Western world or any other place, even though we have huge amount of sunshine every day. Is possibly one of those things where we have become more of indoor generation. That's one problem which you would observe that the pharmaceutical industry would actually is catching up on in terms of the vitamin D deficiencies and other related diseases which are more or like lifestyle diseases. Can we move on, please? And the kind of chronic diseases which are there. You observe that the chronic diseases, earlier India has been a country where the diseases are more of like acute diseases, more of infectious diseases, but now the mortality and morbidity that you see is moving towards more of chronic diseases, and the number of deaths, or rather the mortality, is more high toward because of the chronic diseases. Can we move on, please? So with this kind of shift, which is, can we go back? With this kind of shift, which is there, or you obviously need doctors, more and more doctors and medical facilities, and India slowly and steadily increasing its doctors as well as the medical facilities all across. So you would observe that, India has now become quite a good center wherever. I mean, actually, COVID had told the world that, that India is far better in terms of the medical facilities compared to, and it has actually dispelled the myths which were there. I do not know whether you heard the stories of, US and the developed countries struggling even to get the masks which are there, and doctors they were using during the COVID period, the masks after washing them and after even cleaning them and possibly sanitizing them. But whereas in India, we had just within a month's time, all those are available even for a common man. That's what actually had had shown the world that India can actually leap forward by a huge margin by managing its medical facilities. Can we move on, please? And of course, slowly and steadily, the insurance coverage is catching up. Virtually every employee, whoever is working in the corporate, do have insurance, and as such, even the normal people are covering. Actually taking the insurance coverage. On the top of it, the governments today are spending quite a bit on in terms of insurance coverage. The advantage that you get with insurance coverage is even Aam Aadmi will be able to actually afford fair amount of medicine and healthcare treatment, which impacts the pharmaceutical industry by a huge margin. Can we move forward, please? And that infrastructure, as well as the best of the medication, best of the doctors, and the kind of pharmacy that is available in India makes India a tourist destination. So if you observe that India is now being considered as one of the best tourist destination when it comes to medical tourism in India, medical tourism, for a simple reason of the quality of the facilities and the quality of medical care which is available. Our medical care quality is as good as any other well-developed country, including USA, possibly slightly better than that. In fact, there are some people laughingly say that if India decides to bring back all its doctors from US and UK, actually their whole healthcare system would collapse. Actually, to that extent, our Indian doctors, both here as well as at the Western countries, have been doing exceedingly well. In India becomes truly a medical tourism. That is what is happening, and you would find that the growth in Indian medical tourism has been exceptionally good in the last few years. Can we move on, please? And on the top of it, the medicines have become much more affordable, much more accepted in accessibility, which means that even at the last mile, the medicines are available. Thanks to the Indian pharmaceutical industry, majority of the Indian drug companies have actually made the medicines more affordable. Every time that there is a patent expiry, possibly Indians are the first ones to first ones to create the copies of it and make this available. You would observe that the kind of power that we have got is shown during the COVID time. Once again, the rest of the world had actually taken, be it chloramphenicol, be it be it the doxycyclines of this world, or be it the quinine, or be it the vaccine. Everything India had actually supported rest of the world in terms of the mass production during that COVID period. And you must have actually seen, for the whole of the world, India is the center to give the vaccine all across the world. I think we have proved ourselves to be the best, to be the pharmacy of the medicine, which we were always called. I think it continues to be that. Thanks to the Indian pharmaceutical industry that had made it possible. And people like you who will join this pharmaceutical industry shortly would make it much, much more available to that. And you all must have heard during the COVID time that we had the problem of APIs and we were dependent on China. The moment we have understood that the dependence of ours on the APIs, huge amount of government intervention has happened, and a lot of APIs and intermediates have started. We started manufacturing them in India, though it is slightly costly because we cannot afford one more COVID-like situation. So a large number of the APIs as well as intermediaries are actually happening in India. Though there is certain amount of dependence on China, but we are far better compared to pre-COVID period to the post-COVID period. Can we move on, please? This is what we have actually done. In the recent past, In this year, possibly 2024, as high as approximately about 24 blockbuster drugs. Blockbuster drug in Western markets means a drug which sells about $1 billion in the first year of its launch is called as a blockbuster. As many of as 24 drugs are going to come out of off patent this year, which means that Indian patients would have economical alternatives which are of high quality of these drugs, which would be available at a much economical prices. What does this economy with high quality means to a patient is that it would be accessible even to the last mile in the country, and patients would get much better relief, and patients' outcomes are far better with these newer drugs. That is what the pharmaceutical industry had achieved in the last few years. And off-patent drugs also offer another benefit of exports back to the country where it has become off-patent also. That also makes the pharmaceutical industry of India much more strong. Can we move on? And of course, I have already talked about APIs, economies of scale is required. So we are already working on that and the dependence on China had come down by a huge margin. But still to move forward, I think, we will, in the next few years, I think we are going to really do very well because the government itself is supporting a lot of such initiatives of creating APIs as well as intermediaries in India itself. Can we move on, please? And one more thing that you all need to understand is, out of 7.5 billion population, possibly now reaching about 7.75 billion population across the world, 65% of the healthcare will be spent on 65 years of age. But whereas in India, you do not have that kind of population which are highly dependent. But whereas the rest of the world, if you observe, the aged population is quite high, so we have a huge amount of inside the country usage as well as an opportunity to export the rest of the world. Can we move on? And one more thing that they see is that 85% of the world population is going to be in emerging economies, which is more to do with India, China, and Latin American countries and all that, which are once again dependent on India per se. So when you have a high population in the emerging markets, when you have people who are aged above 65, where the maximum healthcare spend is going to be there, obviously India will become the country of choice for such medication to be actual, or such pharmacy requirements to be met with. Not only here, in the rest of the world, where even the developed countries are dependent on us for majority of the intermediaries as well as for the finished goods. That makes India a formidable one, and your future is going to be bright in India when it comes to the pharmacy and its allied specialties which are there. Can we move on? One more very recent trend and phenomenon is that the resurgence, or rather the increase of e-pharmacies. Once again, the COVID had actually played a major role, that's for sure. But after COVID, our people have realized that e-pharmacies are much more convenient, as well as that there is you might, if you have experienced either Tata 1mg or any of these e-pharmacies, as you upload your prescription, you would actually get a doctor's phone call and an e-consultation, possibly at times, where the doctor will confirm from you what is the dose which is required. So the medication errors have come down after this, and they follow a very strict standard protocol of high quality in dispensing the medicines and all that. And with this kind of convenience, majority of us are now buying it on the e-pharmacies, especially in the metros and semi-metros. Yeah, I'm sure you all would have had that experience. If pharmaceutical industry were to be for about 100 rupees, then today approximately 15 to 20 rupees actually happen through e-pharmacies, which is phenomenally good in a short span of time. I think from COVID to now, I think all this development had happened, and this is a very strong phenomenon. And you would always observe that these medicines come at slightly economical prices compared to the market prices. And the e-pharmacies are playing their role in actually improving the health of the whole country. This is one of the very recent phenomenons. And you, from the business point of view, when you are looking at it, you would observe when e-pharmacists are buying a large chunk of medicines, obviously they would also ask for better pricing from the organizations because they are buying it in bulk. So that itself means that their profitabilities will go up and the end consumer will also get the benefit. I think that's the beauty of e-pharmacies, and I mean, in the recent phenomenon. Can we move on? And you must have observed that, virtually everyone has got a wearable or a watch, which is, I mean, like say, for example, today you have Fitbit. The latest Fitbit actually can take an ECG, which is there, and it doesn't cost much. So you can actually take an ECG and send it over mail to your doctor, and actually he can see whether there is anything which is major, though it is not diagnostic immediately, but I'm saying that they are all the ones which are catching up. And I mean, your number of steps that you walk, the heart rate, virtually every of those things, including the periods of women, actually are captured on the wearables. And this sends huge amount of data back to the servers. And today now you have a new data set which is available, which can actually, if analyzed well, actually can generate huge amount of insights which would improve the healthcare outcomes. Can we move on? And that kind of data into the systems, as well as electronic medical records, the digitalization or digitization of the records is actually happening without we understanding it. If you have observed, once again, I mean, aam janta ke liye possibly the one which you all should know is that how during the COVID time, so much of information is available, and we were all getting on an every daily basis. We were getting the information on number of patients, even number of deaths for that matter, and all that. All this is possible because now they are linking virtually the whole of the hospital chains. And thanks to the insurance, once again, this digitization actually had started doing exceedingly well. The beauty of this digitization is not just only hospital records or patient records. The beauty is now that this data can be analyzed, and actually you can get so much of insights which tell you what next actions that you need to take to actually reduce the impact of a disease. That's the beauty of digitalization, and India is moving towards that. That's the massive trend which had happened in terms of the medicine, and the pharmacy, or rather pharmaceuticals, are actually reaping the benefit of that. Can we move on, please? And you also must have observed that e-monitoring is also one more thing which is actually happening all across. Post I mean, when the patient is on ICU, today ICU number of days can be reduced, and e-monitoring can easily be done on that. And that is how you have a new science, or rather a new field of medicine, which is called as digital therapeutics, which have come. Can we move on to the next slide, please? These digital therapeutics actually start from remote monitoring to healthcare applications to telemedicine, and even the prescriptive I mean, digital therapeutics, which means that there are studies which say that if you give nudges to the patient, they are tend to follow the medication well, and they have shown inclination to follow the diet as well as exercise, especially in case of lifestyle diseases, and the disease outcomes are far better. So today, the digital therapeutics, which have become an adjunctive to the pharmaceutical industry, have become very popular, and this is a recent trend in the pharmaceutical industry. Along with the medicine, along with the pill, possibly you also use digital therapeutics in chronic diseases to motivate the patient to adhere to the therapy. Here, I would say one thing: adherence to the therapy is the most important, as we all know. as a popular pharmacy saying says, that medicines do not work in those patients who do not take medicines, right? This is well known to all of us. So medical adherence to the treatment is very important. And it was observed even in countries like UK, where the medicine is virtually free of cost to every patient. The adherence to the hypertensive medication is so poor that almost about 70% of the patients are not properly controlled on the hypertensive medication, which is given free of cost, which says that you may have to give repeated reminders and nudge the patient to take the medication as well as follow lifestyle changes. And that's what the digital therapeutics actually do. And that is why it has become a true adjuvant to the pharmaceutical industry, the digital therapeutics. And you must have heard that Cipla had bought a company which is into digital therapeutics just to enhance its pharmaceutical presence. It also has bought. So slowly and steadily, you would observe that pharmaceutical companies would also get into the digital therapeutics at some point or other to enhance their offerings. So that's the recent trend which you could observe in the pharmaceutical industry. Can we move on, please? May I have the next slide, please? Can you please change the slide, sir, to the next one? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, the one slide behind.
Next, one slide.
Yeah, and there is one more which possibly I want you all to recognize is that there is a huge amount of reliance on real world data. I'm sure you must have heard about real world data and real world evidence. Usually, after the medicine, after new drug is introduced in the market, there was earlier called as post marketing surveillance studies. You must have heard about that, but that's now possibly re-Christianized, or rather is being done as a real world evidence, which means that, in the existing present population where they have been taking the medication, how does the medicine work and how does the pharmacovigilance actually can bring out the side effects as well as the drug interactions with the drug. So that's the real world evidence, which when the drug is introduced in the market is getting captured nowadays. Both pharmaceutical industry as well as doctors and the regulatory bodies are accessing the electronic medical records from the hospital and are doing great amount of work in terms of actually bringing out the real world data. But what's the advantage with real world data? It's very simple. Till such time you all have already studied, till such time that the drug is studied in situ or possibly even in the clinical trials, you may not be able to find out all the kind of side effects or the kind of real effect or the beneficial effects which are there. But when it is used in the real life situations, you would actually find newer indications for the drug. Let me give you an example. You must have all heard about minoxidil, which was there and which was actually an antihypertensive. But later on, they have found out minoxidil when it can actually increase the hair growth. And today you have minoxidil solutions which are there. This was found out only when they have actually gone into the market, and then they found out that these this is a side effect of the drug, and possibly now is actually can be used for alopecia or the hair loss or any such indications. So I'm just giving you just one such example. Chloroquine in COVID is one more such example and all that. Can we move on to the next slide, please? That's what possibly is being talked as the repurposing of drugs. The real world evidence actually brings you possibly the newer and newer indications to the drug and possibly the newer benefits that the drug gives. And you can actually find out, without the kind of huge amount of research, possibly you can find out the newer indications and retest the data and retest the drug for the newer indication which was found out. Can we move on to the next slide, please? That's what is repurposing of drugs, which is also happening in the recent past, because creating a new drug itself costs about $7 to $8 billion all across and possibly takes about 12 years. And any repurposing of drugs would actually benefit the whole industry as well as the mankind at best. That's what is also one more recent trend which is happening both in India as well as in the Western markets. Can we move on to the next slide, please? And of course, there is a minor change of regulations. You must have observed that government has become quite strict and quite strong when it comes to the quality of medicines which are there. That's one thing which is a very positive this thing. And they also have actually recently had also had announced newer regulations when it comes to relationship between pharmaceutical industry and the doctors. So the marketing practices of the pharmaceutical industry, all these are coming into the regulation. So those are the changes which actually have been benefited the whole pharmaceutical industry. Can we move on to the next slide? And this phenomenon has been there for the last few years, where you now have got new patented drugs which are pretty expensive. It's not only that the drug gives the benefit, but it is pretty expensive. The patient possibly needs to get convinced of the benefit that the drug offers. So today you have something like beyond the pill services by the pharmaceutical companies which are there. This would increase the value of which means, like, say, for example, you have an oncology drug which is there, which is pretty expensive. So there are some patient assistance programs or patient education programs which will actually help the patient along with the doctor to take the right decision to go for the medication or not. You also must have heard that today actually there are drugs which are available, especially in oncology, which suit your cancer type, which is actually done by intensive testing, and these testings are done by the pharmaceutical industry itself, so that it checks whether the drug that is being proposed to the patient is the right drug which gives the maximum benefit or not. So they have become actually the protocols, and the pharmaceutical industry has been in forefront actually helping the patients choose the right medication. Though they are pretty expensive medications, but the pharmaceutical industry has been driving the patient assistance programs as well as patient support programs to actually enhance the reach of medicines to a larger audience also. Can we move to the next one? This actually increases the patient power as the patient decides whether he needs to take the drug or not. That is one more recent phenomenon which has been there for the last possibly 7 to 10 years, and which is gaining a lot of importance in the recent past. The patients deciding what is right for them in their own groups is one more phenomenon which pharmaceutical industry should be aware of. Yeah, can we move on to the next one? And as such, thanks to the six-pack abs of the film heroes, thanks to the zero size of the heroines and all that, I think there is a wellness fever or a fitness fever all across. That itself is actually selling quite a bit of nutraceuticals which are there, where the patients are taking the decisions, reading through the literature, and they are taking the decisions. That's a recent change that we have actually received, we have seen in the pharmaceutical industry. Can we move on? Of course, the elections which we have seen across the world, including USA, you must have heard about Obamacare, and you must have heard about the medicine prices being coming down in India. Even elections are being fought on healthcare, so healthcare becomes the most important one. Which would impact all of us. Can we move on? AI usage in pharmaceutical industry is being much talked about, but I'm sure It's not directly going to impact you per se. This is mostly in drug discoveries, or I mean, actually to check whether the molecule structure gets exactly fitting into the ligand or not, or which ligand does it fit. All those things are actually being tested with AI, which makes it much easier actually to test huge amounts of data. But I think per se, the kind of artificial intelligence which is being used is what is known to you and me, that maybe in sales forecast, maybe chat GPI, and actually the ones which are like available on your computers, which are now free of cost, that's being used. But when it comes to the true AI, I think I mean, for the armed janata like you and me, I mean, I'm talking about the normal, other than the research scholars or the research which is happening, we're still not impacted by the AI in terms of the number of jobs lost and all that. I don't think that that would ever happen, because the pharmaceutical industry runs on people and this thing. However, there are few automations which have actually been done, but that is more to do with automations rather than AI and machine learning. I think we are getting confused between basic automations and the AI. I think that's where I leave the AI. Possibly we may have to wait and see how does it impact all of us, and how does it actually benefit all of us at the lower strata. Can we move on? When it comes to India specific things, you must have observed that multinational companies are slowly and steadily reducing their footprint in India. They are selling off their medicines. Majority of the Indian companies are buying those marketing rights. So MNCs per se, but they are floating in Indian market, possibly waiting for the right time, because our regulations are fairly strong, and we are fairly strong on our drug price controls and all that. So possibly that's what might not be working for MNCs, and that's why slowly they are reducing their footprint. And then economical off-patent products, there are plenty of them, and we are seeing now a great benefit to the Indian patients, which is happening from in Indian market. Majority of the companies, earlier there used to be one or two generics, but today you have, even for the latest off-patent one, you have at least 20 to 30 generics which are available, which is very, very good to happen. There, as I said, patient support programs and patient assistance programs have gained a lot of importance nowadays. And the real world evidence I have already talked about, and data-based decisions because of the digitalizations have happened. ECMEs are the ones which have caught up in the recent past thanks to the COVID. I think these are the ones which are the India market trend specifically. So if I go further, can we move to the next slide, please? So these are all the trends which are there and what's there in for you. Can we move to the next slide? Can we move to the next slide? What's there in it for me? Okay, these are all the changes. थोड़ा कुछ तो कुछ ज्ञान दे दिया, कुछ तो कुछ internet में पढ़ के बात कर लिया. All that is fine, but what's in it for me? Why is that I need to know? Can we move on? Because I want you to understand few points which over a period of time, what I have experienced. Education always pays, which means that there are innumerable. Can we move to the next slide? We have innumerable studies which have said that if you have higher education, you will earn much more money and you will earn much more positions. So gentlemen and ladies, you are going to complete your graduation shortly. But if there is any possibility of doing post-graduation and further education of even an MPhil and a PhD, please do that, which is going to benefit you a lot. Across the world, knowledge pays, education pays. On the left side, you have in US Bureau of Statistics. On the right side, you have a study which was quite old from India, where a graduate is known to earn much, much more all through his life compared to anybody else below graduation. So be it India or anywhere in the world, it is proved that education pays. So please do spend time and effort on your education. Can we move to the next slide? But if you want to join jobs immediately after that, you have quite a spectrum of jobs which are available. starting from clinical research to analytical chemist, quality control. I think majority of these are known to you. You will not become a brand manager immediately, but after a certain amount of work, you possibly can become a brand manager in a pharmaceutical company. There are good number of data managers which are there. Pharmacovigilance is one more area which is catching up in India, is becoming a center for majority of the multinational companies as pharmacovigilance center of excellences. Possibly that is one. Regulatory is one more formidable jobs, which if you are very good at your background knowledge, I think that is one. Basic analytics, business development, then marketing, strategic marketing, and medical representative. These are the roles which you have. But immediately after your graduation, you may not get majority of these jobs. But first one which you will get immediately is medical representative. But trust me, gentlemen, I myself worked as a medical representative. If you actually work in the market, you have far more insights which will actually lead you to the senior roles. So I would recommend that at least you work for 1 or 2 years as medical representative. You would learn 10 times than what you have learned in your pharmacy, 10 times than what they teach in an MBA college. That actually helps you choose your right job over a period of time and take promotions. Can we move on to the next one? But for that, you need to learn how to learn. Today, we are so fortunate that even Harvard lectures are available to you on YouTube. Today, you have innumerable number of courses which are available free of cost. Be it Coursera, EDX, you name it, you just only have to go and see it on the YouTube. You have a problem, you have a subject, Khan Academy, you name the topic, you have a lecture which is by the best of the best of the best professors in the world will talk about you. Harvard's and Stanford's lectures are available to you free of cost. As they say that the curriculum is same all over the world. People in US do not learn anything new. It is the same Kotler uncle all across the world. But whereas when you learn through Harvard's and IIMs which are there, you actually learn far better. You only have to learn how to learn, which means that you should actually explore the internet, and you can actually do very well learning through that. You have access to everything. Can we move on to the next slide? And for which you have to tie a friendship band to Google or ChatGPT or even the Microsoft's Copilot, which is the free AI which is available. AI possibly today it is overhyped. Initially, I used to think like that, but now when you start using ChatGPT or even Copilot for searches, they give you far better insight as well as far better knowledge, which is there on the internet. It sums it up and gives to you. Possibly all that you need to learn is how to ask the right question to that AI tool, which is available free of cost, which is there even on your mobiles. ChatGPT can be actually be put. Give a try and check it out, how beautiful it can actually help you, and how Google can actually help you find the right course for you to possibly to understand and enhance your education. Can we move forward? And a bit of statistical thinking is important. So it's better that you review your mathematics a bit more if you are getting into the corporate world in this thing. All across statistical thinking, whether you are there in sales or not in sales, even if you are in research, obviously you have to be thinking statistically. So a bit of statistical thinking is important in the corporate. This is what I have understood. So learn the art. You have once again innumerable number of courses teaching you starting from basics of statistics to advanced statistics. Can we move on to the next slide, please? And the beauty is how simple you can be, I think, which is extremely difficult skill. So if you are able to actually simplify certain things, you will be the most effective one. So learn the art of simplification. It's not about language. It's not about it. Can you take something complex and explain it to someone? The whole of the corporate world is all about communication and simplicity. The more simple you are, the far better you would be in the corporate world. So that's one skill you may have to learn before you get into the corporate. Can we move on to the next slide? And also how to make things simpler and easier, and think really out of the box actually to this is what I call it as the so-called cliched word, thinking out of the box. Think of simplest solutions which everyone can use. Then your corporate journey is going to be great. Can we move to the next slide, please? And when you are free, rather than looking at the reels, possibly it's worthwhile watching TED. I know that the reels might give you a bit of uh, comfort when you are stretched and when you are tired, but even the same kick you get by watching TED videos. I recommend that you watch some of those TED videos. You would observe how the whole world, even if they are poor, have brought ideas which have really changed the whole world. Can we move to the next slide? And if you are entering corporate, you have to actually learn two things which are there. One is Microsoft Office, in terms of two things, which is like Excel as well as PowerPoint. These are the ones which you can't live with in a corporate world. So if you are actually looking at job in immediately after your this thing, possibly it's time for you to start learning Microsoft PowerPoint as well as Excel. Can we move on to the next slide? If you have any interest, it's always good, whichever field that you choose after your pharmacy, learning a bit of Python. You all need to learn a bit of Python today, thanks to the chat GPTs or the AI's tools which are available. If you write the right thing, you actually will get the whole program written down on these chat GPTs and all with a lot of ease, but you should actually understand what to ask. So that is more important. That's why you need to learn a bit of Python and the databases. That makes your job much easier, even though you have a background of pharmacy. Can we move to the next slide, please? And if you have time, you have to have actually look at the massive open online courses which are called MOOCs, which I was talking about. Can we move to the next slide? You have Coursera, you have EDX, you have Stanford Online. You name the college, you name the university in the world which we can't even think of. Those universities are online, offering you free of cost education. Please do you make the best use of that. Right? Can we move to the next slide? I know that I am at the last one or two slides of my presentation. Possibly now you must have all seen the gray hair. Then this is the kind of consider that कोई बुड्ढे बता रहे सुन लेना ये. Remember this, gentlemen and ladies. I know that when someone asks you to study hard, when someone asks you to put in extra hours, when your parents push you to do well, and I know that it would be little difficult. Possibly it's far easier to spend more time with the friends, far easier to actually play little more. Yeah, of course, even if you play little more, that's good for you, or rather while away the time with some friends. But gentlemen and ladies, this is the only time in your life where you are you are getting the benefit of doing nothing but accepting the education. Possibly you can take it a little more seriously. Can we move to the next slide, please? I'll just give you an example why it can be different. If you are asked for 48 days to follow certain rules, like get up at 4 o'clock, take a cold water bath, take a bland diet, no anger, you should not have greed, you should not have lust, you should not tell lies, you should not wear shoes, you should sleep on the floor, pray to God at all times. What do you call it? You call it as a punishment, like siksha. What is all this nonsense? Why should I eat blanded? Why should I get up at 4 o'clock? This will be considered as siksha. Can we move to the next slide? But whereas the same thing, if you take it upon yourself, when you decide that during the Ayyappa Diksha of South India, or possibly during the Devi Navaratris in complete of North, or possibly during the Lent month of Lent month for Christians, or possibly during the Ramzan time for 1 month. You do majority of these things because you have decided to do it rather than somebody imposing it onto you. So when you take it as a diksha, all these rules which someone was telling you have become a diksha and you will happily follow them. So it's all about changing your mindset, whether I want to consider it as a siksha or do I want to take it as a diksha. The day you take it as a diksha, you will find yourself contributing to this world and you will make this place a world, you will make this world a better place to live. All the very best to you all, guys. God bless you. Have a great future ahead. We look forward. We all are looking forward for your guidance in the near future from all of you who will lead us into the future, a better future. Thank you so much. All the best.
Yes, thank you so much, sir, for such an valuable session and throwing lights on like overview of pharmaceutical industry as well as recent trends in pharmaceutical industry.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the session must have been well received by all the participants and it will help them to enhance their knowledge in this particular field. Thank you so much,
Pleasure,
sir.
ma'am. Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now I request all the participants, if they have any question, they can drop your question in chat box. Yes, participants. Sir, actually we received few questions through
Sure,
Google
ma'am.
form. If you permit, can I ask?
Sure, madam. Sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, actually one question we received from Vaibhav Gavane. He is from Shivlingeshwar College of Pharmacy. He asked, what are the major key points to improve communication skill, which may be helpful for management work in the industry?
Sure. I mean, let me tell you a very simple story. If you are asked to go and communicate something to your professors, obviously you have a problem, right? You may not be able to communicate well. If you are asked to communicate with your parents or elders, possibly you may have a problem. But go and try to communicate the same thing with kids who are much younger to you. You will do very well. You will communicate without any hesitation, right? It's not about the language, it's not about English, or it's not about anything. It's all about communication. If you are asked to tell a story to professors, you have some fear. If you are asked to tell stories to your a story or some knowledge to your colleagues, you have certain fear. But if you are asked to tell the same stories to kindergarten students, you will go happily and tell that. For a simple reason, you are very confident you know it far better than them. That is the very reason why you have become confident. So in a corporate world, wherever you are speaking, whatever communication that you are giving, if you have the base of knowledge which is strong, you will feel very, very comfortable. So knowledge actually increases the communication clarity. Uh, I think that's one part of it. And then the second thing is, I mean, you should not have inhibitions whenever you are communicating. I think that's the one, that fear of performance or fear of I mean losing something from the other, possibly is the one which actually reduces your communication effectiveness. But if you have to improve your effectiveness, don't really worry about I mean what the others would think. Genuinely communicate what you feel is right. That is number one. Number two is, if you are knowledgeable, I think your communication would automatically be good. So be strong when it comes to the knowledge. But in corporates, obviously communication does play a role, but it's not what you and I think as a communication. And it's not that whoever is good in English is good communicator. No, it's not the case. So language is not the one which would be a barrier there. It's how effectively and how simply you communicate is all that is important.
Sure, sir. Yes. So next question is asked by Gauri. She's from Bapuji Pharmacy College. She's asking, sir, will AI replace the pharmacy jobs in upcoming future?
I mean, madam, it's a difficult question, but I don't think it will happen at all, madam. It just would not happen. There are few jobs. I mean, you must have also read that it replaces doctors. It replaces. No, it just doesn't replace doctors. You have the existing literature, which you can see it can possibly help you do your job better. I think that is what happens. Possibly, certain amount of research is made faster through AI, which is what you can actually see in the literature now. But I don't think that AI will replace. And I mean, I don't think that humans are so stupid that that we create machines which would replace us and we all will become obsolete. I don't think I strongly believe in human intelligence.
Yes. Sir, next question is from Saraswati Institute of Pharmacy. It is asked by Ravi Mohite. Sir, he is asking how to tackle the interview. As a lecturer, how to tackle the interview.
Sure. It's very simple. If you are, I'm sure once you are you have gone through the graduation. Everybody knows, whoever comes to your college, that you are for the first time attending an interview. Remember that. That's number one. Number two, virtually for any interview, there are only some standard 10 questions. You don't have anything beyond that. So prepare very well on those 10 things. That's what is most important. And the third thing is that they may ask you about what is your favorite subject, or what is your project, or what is the latest work that you have done. I mean, some kind of project you must have done in the last year, 3 months or 6 months. So obviously they're going to ask you more questions about that. But if you have done that project work genuinely, and if you have put in your heart and soul in that, you just need not really worry and tell what you have learned through that. I think that is more than enough. Once again, to give you a simple brief, the one who is going to come and interview knows that you are facing the first time in your life some interviews, so there will be certain amount of anxiety, which is understood by everybody. Number two is they're going to ask you some standard questions, which you should be well prepared. Like if they say that talk about yourself and please let us know about yourself, or please tell why we should give you a job, who else can answer it better than you? So you should have all that confidence. Number three is they're going to ask you some questions on your project. And I don't think that there is any interview which will go beyond these things. So really do not worry. And if you do not know the answer to any question, please do tell them I do not know. I think that's the best thing. And in any of the interviews, there is one simple rule. Remember that uh, that you have to tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you don't need to remember what you have told them. Remember that. If you tell the truth, you don't need to remember what you have told them. So at any point of time, that truth and that sensibilities would always work in your favor compared to anybody else. The last thing is, remember that 3 idiots can interview. Majority of the interviews will be like that only.
Yes, sir. We receive one more question in the chat box. It is asked by Dr. Jaswant Lamle. Sir, he is asking, please throw light on herbal medicine as prophylactic drug.
I think this is beyond my capability, madam. I think herbal medicines are prophylactic drugs. I do not know. I mean, possibly it's little more science, which I am not qualified to answer. My apologies, doctor.
Okay, sir. Okay. There are many more questions, but because shortage of time, we could not be able to answer all the questions, I think. So I think we should move ahead for the next session.
Thank you.
Now
Really
I
appreciate it.
request Dr. Anil Poman, sir, to please propose a vote of thanks.
Yes, good afternoon all. This is time to propose vote of thanks. On behalf of Lotus Business School, I, Dr. Anil Poman, extend vote of thanks for today's session. I am thankful to our Executive Director, Mr. Charudatta Bodhankar, sir, and Dr. Satish Varpade, sir, Director of Lotus Business School, for their rock solid support and always supporting us for such kind of innovative activities. I am thankful to today's expert guest, K. Satya Mahesh, for taking out your valuable time, sir, and you enlighten us about different aspects of pharma industries. I believe definitely your thoughts are useful for the student. I'm also thankful to Pharma Department of Lotus Business School and the HOD of Pharma, Prajakta Madam. At the outset, I extend my kind gesture towards Training and Placement Department of Lotus Business School, especially Mr. Vivek Keskar sir, Devang Joshi sir, Tushar sir, for connecting industries and academic in today's session. I am also thankful to the all colleges principals and coordinators for making this opportunity available to your student. And I really believe that whatever colleges, whatever student has participated in today's activity, because of their college principals, coordinators have taken active efforts to connecting student in today's session. Last but not the least, I am thankful to all students who join from Maharashtra and outside of Maharashtra. Basically, many students are also joining from Indore, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, as well as Jharkhand also. So I believe coming together is a beginning. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is a success. So we, Lotus Business School and all colleges through this MOU, we have coming together for the academic excellence and career development of the student. So this is just beginning from Lotus Business School. In coming future, we will definitely arrange such kind of sessions or other training placement related activities or industrial visit related activities for these students. Today, we really got fabulous response from various colleges, schools, which highlight the importance how students are keen to learn new things. So with this note, I thank all the participants, all the stakeholders for making this today's session successful. I also request in the chat box, feedback form link has been shared. So for getting certification of participation, all students must fill this feedback form. And in future, all students, colleges, you required any kind of help, or if you are having any suggestions, you are feel free to contact us. We are always open for providing whatever help we can make from our side. So this session will be remain open for feedback form. So student, you can fill the feedback form. On your screen, you can see the QR code. By scanning this QR code, you can fill the feedback form also. So after successfully filling this form, student will get the certificate also on a given email ID. The student who have submitted a feedback form, they can leave this meeting. Thank you for your time. Uh, I request Satyamay sir, thank you for your time also, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Really appreciate.
Thank you very much, sir. Good day. Yes, student have filled feedback form. Thank you for your time. You can leave this meeting.
Sure. I understand. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. Sure. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Right. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.